So the easiest way to grow an agency is to focus on the tiny tweaks that have the biggest impact. And after helping hundreds of agencies achieve their growth goals, I've realized that there's one type of change that truly stands out, where a 2% change can literally double your revenue. So in this video, I'm going to explain what that change is, how you can apply that change to your agency, and at the end, I will show you how I helped an agency make an additional $2.5 million in revenue using this exact strategy. But in order to do that, I need to very quickly explain the concept of inputs and outputs. So what are they? Inputs are the behaviors, the actions that you're doing in order to achieve a result. And the outputs are the results of that input. So for example, let's say that you are going and doing email marketing. So the input could be the number of emails that you've sent. And the output, depending on the campaign, could be the number of clicks or the calls that you booked as a result of that campaign. Or for example, let's say that you're working out in the gym. And so the input could be the number of reps that you're doing and the number of exercises that you're doing at the gym. And the output could be the amount of muscle gained or the amount of weight loss that you experienced. So at this point, you might be wondering, why does this matter at all to me, Robert? And what does it mean for my agency? So the tweak I'm referring to is going to be found within your marketing and sales data. So in order to understand how to make the right tweak, we need to understand your data, because identifying your inputs and outputs will allow for you to be able to determine which of your sales and marketing efforts are delivering you results. And you'll know which input you need to adjust so that you can get the outcome that you want to have. And what also is really important here is that you'll also be able to see the patterns. And so the pros and cons of what action you took is having to the output. So let's use an example that directly relates to agencies to show you how big the result can be from identifying and tweaking an output. So let's suppose that you run an agency that generates 30 new clients per year at roughly $80,000 each, which would gross you around $2.4 million in total. So to generate those 30 new clients, you must generate 120 proposals every year. To produce those 120 proposals, you need to generate 400 marketing qualified leads. You probably need somewhere around 8,000 total prospects or leads in your marketing funnel to get to those 400 MQLs. So imagine that you did a tweak of just 2% of improvement on this. So now you're qualifying 7% of your prospects. Right now you need 560 MQLs. And so now you've got 180 proposals compared to the 120 that you had previously. And so now you're closing 27% versus 25 of your clients, putting you at 49 clients and 3.9 million in revenue that year. So this 2% improvement that you made in this funnel allowed for you to be able to increase your revenue by $1.5 million. I'm sure all agency owners would welcome a boost like this, but ultimately, how do you get to that 2% improvement, right? So in order to do this, you're going to have to be able to get under the hood of your marketing and sales operations and identify what the inputs are so that we can dramatically improve the outputs. So let's say, for example, right, that the problem that you're having is that you have the right amount of traffic, but you're not getting the right people on the phone. So your MQLs are kind of failing you. And so what I often see in this example is that the copy that you've utilized to identify the challenge of your ideal client is not actually hitting the mark. So someone that has just started their business is going to have a completely different challenge than someone that's doing 10 million a year or 50 million a year. And so the challenge that you need to be articulating, the copy that you need to have in front of them needs to be different. And not only are you attracting the wrong person, but you're also dissuading the person that actually needs you and that has the revenue to be able to afford you. Because if you're talking about a lower level problem, you're attracting the person at that level, but you're also dissuading the person that is your ideal client because they're like, oh, I've already solved that. I don't need this person. So the thing that I see happen in a lot of instances is that agency owners look to just the top of the funnel to be able to look at how do I increase revenue. So let's say that the goal is for you to be able to make a 50% improvement in your revenue this year. And so in order to do that, what most people think is the lever is I need to generate this much more traffic, or I need to send this many more emails, 50% more emails, in order for you to be able to get there. So let's 2% improvement, right, is so much easier than that 50 or 100% improvement. So at a 1%, you're usually, for the vast majority of you, if you have a 1% improvement at multiple touch points in your sales and marketing funnel, are able to have a 50% increase in your revenue. At a 2%, you're able to have 100% or near 100% increase in your revenue. And there's lots of things that you can do to allow for that to be able to happen. But it is incredibly easier to be able to make a small improvement than to make such a dramatic improvement. So I want to give you a real life example to go through. So I'm going to share my iPad with you. So here's an example of an agency both last year and the prior year. So let's start with the prior year. They had 750 people that they were reaching out to a month, and so a total of about 9,000 a year. At a 2% conversion to a proposal, they had 184 proposals from that activity. They had 18 referrals that generated them 202 proposals from these activities. They also had 6 existing clients, 3 proposals to each, so an 18 of total of 18 proposals from the existing relationships. This generating them a total of 220 proposals, generating them 44 projects at $80,000 each, bringing them to $3.5 million a year. They were able to end the following year at a $6 million in revenue. So here's ultimately what they were able to do. They ended up going and being more targeted in the outreach that they had, improving the output to 3% rather than 2%, generating us 58 calls, increasing their relationships with their referral partners, bringing in 25 referrals or 83 new prospects or qualified leads that generated proposals. They now have 15 existing clients that they were able to go through efforts of remarketing and strategizing with clients. They were able to generate 4 opportunities with on average per client, generating them 143 proposals. Dramatic adjustment in the way that they were pitching and the way that they were communicating that allowed for them to generate 50 projects from those 143 proposals, increasing their price point to $120,000 from where they were last year, generating them $6 million. So in the real world, there are augmentations to the way that this is directly applied. The 2% improvement is a general rule, but how it is applied directly to your business is going to be identified in the numbers that you're seeing and how exactly you can go about making augmentations to how you're currently activating and how it is that you're currently presenting yourselves to your prospects, allowing for you to have impactful growth, impactful result. And for this agency in this example was able to do a whole lot less proposals, so a whole lot less selling, which made their lives easier. And they were also able to work on a whole lot less projects at a higher amount of revenue that also made their lives easier. So there's further impacts aside from just revenue growth that allows for you to be able to see how exactly you can go about leveraging this to not only grow your revenue, but also make your life easier. With that said, in order for you to actually make these types of tweaks and have considerable results, you need to have a high amount of lead flow in the first place. So check out this video where I explain how you can generate 500 leads plus per month in your sleep.